New Thought Media Network proudly presents Having Courageous Conversations, where real talk dives deep. Each week we go beyond surface talk. We open our hearts, speak our truths, and dive into the stories that shape us. No scripts, no filters, just powerful, unforgettable conversations about life, purpose, healing, and truth. Join the conversation, because your voice belongs here. Please like, share, and subscribe. Check out our YouTube channel at Having Courageous Conversations or email us at yourshowyourvoice@gmail.com. Now, let's have a courageous conversation.
The views and opinions of our guest and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of New Thought Media Network, or any organization we may be affiliated with. Here at New Thought Media Network, we welcome freedom of speech and courageous conversations. There are many topics that can be difficult to navigate. Challenging the status quo and engaging in lively debate is important to expanding our understanding of one another, and life in general. Creating a peaceful world doesn't happen because no one disagrees, it happens from a willingness to understanding one another. In our programming, we strive to expand consciousness and assist people in creating remarkable lives. Your comments are welcome at info@ntmedia.org.
Well, hello there. Welcome to today's episode of Having Courageous Conversations. It's a heartfelt, spirit-led series where we explore the transformative power of honest and open dialogue. Rooted in authenticity, compassion, and spiritual awareness, this show invites voices from all walks of life to engage in meaningful conversations. I'm Cheryl Rogers, and I am delighted to be here with my wonderful co-host, Mark Dupuis. And Mark has the pleasure of introducing our fabulous guest today.
Thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, it is a pleasure. I'm so looking forward to this conversation. It's, I'll say that. I'll just say that for now and introduce Pamela. In a world where we are quick to fill every pause with words, silence can feel uncomfortable or even threatening. Yet silence is often where clarity, insight, and thoughtful responses begin. In this conversation, mindfulness teacher Pamela explores why learning to be with silence takes courage. I think that's so true. And how the simple act of pausing can transform the way we listen, communicate, and make decisions in our, the screen is going on here, and so I've missed my place, and I'm not going to say any more because I'm just going to stumble through it. Pamela, please come on and share your wisdom with us. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Cheryl. I'm thrilled to be here. Any opportunity, and I know this is going to sound like an oxymoron, to speak about silence is one that I welcome.
Yeah, I love that. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to love this topic and explore it.
Mm-hmm. I have always loved silence, and I only recognized that fact, Cheryl, when I was an adult. If I reflect back on my childhood, I came from, not a large family. I have 3 siblings, 2 sisters and a brother. My poor mother bore us all within 5 years of each other. So she had a house full of little kids, and it was busy. We had pets. It was a crazy busy household. I'm being the youngest. I grew up, with my brothers and sisters all around me at all times. And I often sought quietness. I wasn't a shy child. I still am not necessarily a shy person, but I really sought out opportunities to be by myself and to be quiet. And as I said, I didn't really recognize that until I was an adult. And then there came a point in my life where silence was an absolute requirement for me in order for myself to heal physically. And that's really when this whole revelation of the importance of silence unveiled itself to me.
Right. Yeah. Lovely.
So, did you want to speak about your physical healing, or do you want us to go on a different road?
Oh, no, I absolutely can tell that story. And this relates also back to a TEDx talk that I did in 2024. I related these stories in that. In that talk, it's titled, "Is There More to Silence Than Just Silence?" And I relate a number of different stories, one of which is the healing aspect that I found from silence. And what had happened is I was living in Germany at the time, and I was working in a very high-powered environment in a marketing company with a lot of demands being put on me, and a boss that wasn't particularly kind or empathetic, can we put it that way? And so I was driving myself very, very hard. And it got to the point where I now look back on it and I had a mental breakdown. I really had a crisis. And I wasn't able to continue working. And what happened, how that really manifested itself, is I developed hyperacusis, which basically means I was hearing everything, including my own voice when I spoke, at a very high level, very loud level. Even whispering, even swallowing was like an earthquake inside my head. And how I healed myself was a natural option. It was almost like I was forced into it. I was silent. I was quiet. I was silent. I didn't speak very much. I obviously was not at work. I was at home. I wasn't listening to any radio. I wasn't watching any TV. The most I would do would maybe sit out on my porch or go for a walk, and hopefully that I didn't meet someone so that I actually had to talk. And that silence truly physically healed me, but it also healed me mentally as well. Yeah.
And how long did that take?
I would say it probably took a good 4 weeks before I felt that I could speak, and it was, normal, that my sense of hearing had leveled itself out to how it was before. It was definitely stress related. There's no doubt about it. It was how it manifested for me. Stress manifests in people in many different ways, and this is how it happened for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that and being open about it. You have quite the resume, I must say. We were talking before the show, and I know that in your bio as well, it speaks to the many things that you have done in your life. Would you like to tell us about them?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been career achievements and educational things that I've done. I've had so many different jobs in my life, but I started off education-wise. I started off at university. I was a singer and a piano player. I studied music for the first year, then discovered my love of musical theater, which made me change programs. I went into the theater department, got a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree at UBC in theater, then moved on from there to working in television and radio, animated films, and so on. Then decided, I think I'm going to try something new. So I moved into marketing, and then I eventually decided that I wanted to move to Europe, because as a child, I had experienced Germany on a trip that my parents and my siblings did in 1972. There, I just dated myself. And I wanted to go back. So I went to Germany. I lived in Germany for 6 years. And then I moved back to Canada, and at that time started a online business selling plants. And that business continued on for 20 plus years. And during that time, I also discovered that I wanted to know more about mindfulness practices. Now, this came from another stressful situation at work. We had gone through a growth spurt, and I wasn't handling it very well. I was really stressing out. I wasn't getting good sleeps. It was just all those things that people experience when they're stressed. And I decided I needed to do something about it, and discovered mindfulness practices, meditation, and that very much helped me a lot to really bring myself back to the present moment, as opposed to catastrophizing about the future or ruminating about the past. And that developed into a true desire to share that with others. So I went on and got a graduate degree in mindfulness-based teaching and learning from the University of the Fraser Valley. Graduated from that program while I was still working full time, and realized as well that then I started to write curriculum, started giving mindfulness courses, and realized I wanted to delve deeper, even deeper into personal relationships with people and being able to support them. So I went on and got a certification through Martha Beck as a life coach, and then got my International Coaching Federation certification. And then, things have moved on. Since then, as I said, I've been a TEDx speaker. I am now a TEDx or speaker coach. I coach people in how to speak and how to present. And yes, the next adventure for me, I'm sure, is just around the corner, because it seems that's how my life goes. Oh, and I'm also a beekeeper. Just add that in there.
Yeah.
As an extra thing.
Just say, Pamela, you speak beautifully. You really do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, thank you for that. And how did you come to write a book? Tell us about that.
Oh, yes, a book. Yes, when I was working in the business of retail horticulture, my business partners and I would go around to different garden clubs locally and also via Zoom in Canada. And we would give presentations on different topics, perennial plants, bee-friendly plants, flower bulbs, whatever it might be. And we spoke in many, many different garden clubs. And I began because I'm so interested in people. They're such interesting beings. And I would notice certain trends in garden clubs. People who would volunteer, those who wouldn't volunteer, the ones who like to complain, the ones who were always doing everyone, the funny ones, the serious ones, just all these different personalities. And we went to one garden club meeting locally, and it was a bit of a raucous garden club meeting. There were some arguments between the president and the people that were there trying to decide where they were going to go. One of the gifts that we brought got stolen by one of the garden club members. It was comic in many, many ways. And as we were leaving, I said, I swear to God, I'm going to write a book about garden clubs. And so that manifested into the fictional novel that I wrote that's called Flower Garden. That's spelled Flour Garden. It's a play on words, because one of the main characters is a garden club member, but also owns a bakery. And that was great. That was a great creative outlet for me as well. So I thoroughly enjoy doing it.
Wonderful.
So your passion, I think, what I'm hearing, is about silence, and you've had a diverse career, careers, and I think I'm hearing is that you can apply the technique of, or the way of living in silence, hearing people speak, and it doesn't matter what walk of life, what career, what job, you apply it and it's effective and encourage others to be listeners. Is that true?
Absolutely. That is absolutely true, Mark. I apply it in so many different ways, because one of the skills that I have developed throughout my life is the ability to listen to others. And that requires silence. on my part. I think that silence is one of the greatest gifts that we can offer other people because it allows them to fully arrive. And it also allows us as a person to really hear them so that we can respond in a way that is truly supportive of the conversation that's happening, as opposed to me listening to someone and in the same time formulating, what am I going to say back? What am I going to say back?
Mm-hmm.
If there's silence, then it allows me to take that person in holistically and really see all of them, not just what's being said, but also what's not being said.
Mm.
And that skill I have truly honed through my adult life. And it's a wonderful way to apply curiosity to my interactions with people who are very familiar to me, as much as someone I might meet out when I'm out walking or standing in the line at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I find it's often interesting if I'm sharing something with somebody and they want to fix the problem
Mm-hmm.
even before I have the problem out there on the table. And I wonder sometimes if people are uncomfortable hearing what information that I'm saying or what somebody else is saying. And so for them not to be uncomfortable, they fill the air with words.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that is very true, because I think in general, people are afraid of silence. It's not, nowadays, it is not common in our communities to be quiet. If we look back maybe 100 years, silence was integrated into many things that we did as people. Whether we went to religious services, whether we went to common areas where groups would meet, silence was much more prominent than it is now. We have, as I say in my TEDx talk, modern society has silenced silence. And so many people are afraid of it. They're very uncomfortable with it. What, you're not talking? What, you're not talking? Why is the space not filled? We should be filling it. We should be going on. We should be talking. Oh, the phone's ringing. What's going on here? It's just a constant pinging all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when someone is encouraged to be quiet or silent or just listen, they get itchy inside. It's like, this doesn't feel right. I should be doing something. Like, I got to be filling the space. And that's why I encourage people to truly do their best, just to try it, to try and fill in small moments of silence in their day and see what comes of it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we do have many opportunities to do that. People often say to me, because I teach meditation and I teach mindfulness and encourage people to do those sorts of things, people will often say, I don't have time. And I get that. I understand that. We do live very busy lives. But when we look at our day, we often have moments where we can actually just be quiet.
Mm.
Whether it's in the morning when we're in the shower, or maybe we're driving our car and our choice is not to turn the radio on and listen to the traffic news, which is quite frankly the same every day, just to be in the car. Just be quiet when you're walking. I often see people out walking and they've got these in their ears.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's what maybe you really want to listen to a podcast like this one, or maybe you really, so do that. But then when it's done, take it out and then just enjoy 5-10 minutes of sounds of nature or wherever you might be.
Mm-hmm.
And these are opportunities where we can enter into silence and experience it in a safe way so that we can build our courage to have it more and more in our life.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. We live in a very noisy world.
Mm-hmm. We
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's important to have silence as well.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be able to just be by myself and be silent. I don't turn on the radio hardly ever. I work from home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting because I notice the other sounds around me. And it's like, is there ever a time where it's quiet?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cars going by and sirens. And I don't know if you have this in BC, Pamela, when a truck
Mm-hmm.
backs up now, every single
Mm-hmm.
truck, it has to
Oh, yeah.
beep.
Yes.
And it just,
Mm.
that just, to me, is just so noisy and so invasive.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do, I think we all need those moments just to be still and be silent.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Mhm.
Because the truth is, for me, and this isn't everybody's truth, but for me, the truth is when I'm silent, and once I become comfortable with being silent, I become comfortable with myself.
Mm.
And then that opens the door to a deeper wisdom that is there within me. I know that it is
Mhm.
because I've experienced it. And that is really the only way that I can know that deeper wisdom is if I intentionally settle and am quiet and
Mhm.
do my best to turn the noise off around me and enter into that space of greater knowing. Some people might call it God, some people might call it wisdom, some people might call it stillness, uh, intuition. It really doesn't matter what you call it,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
it's
I agree.
wonderful when you experience it.
Yeah,
Mm.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting for me right now. I guess you're not seeing it, but from my end, there's a lot of lagging going on. So Pamela, you're lagging, and so is Cheryl. So, and I look for cues on, okay, I don't want to start speaking if somebody else is going to speak. So I'm sitting here and I'm waiting, and it looks like you're not going to speak,
Mm-hmm.
but then you start to speak. So it's because of the lag, and so I'm missing my prompts here. But it's just interesting, a little bit funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting, with the rise of Zoom meetings, and this isn't being held in Zoom, but it's a similar environment.
Mhm.
During COVID, people were, interestingly enough, people were forced to actually let others people speak and listen, because we know what happens in Zoom when two people speak at once, they both cut out. And so it was a way, interestingly enough, of almost subconsciously training people to allow people to finish their sentences
Mm.
Mhm.
and then they could speak themselves. And so, yeah, I think sometimes there's opportunities like this where there might be a lagging um, for you, Mark, where that's okay because it's almost in a way forcing you to be more attentive, and I'm not saying that you aren't for sure, but forcing you to really listen and choose your opportunity to speak.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a great example.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I remember one time I was out kayaking with my sister, and it was on a lake that is close to here, and it was a lovely autumn day,
Mhm.
and the lake was empty. It's very busy in the summertime, but there's not many people on it at that time of year. And it was absolutely still. The water was like glass. It was just silent, and it was beautiful, all the trees turning different colors, and we're just paddling along, and then I stopped paddling and so did she, and we just sat there, and I turned to her and I said, have we died? Because it was so quiet. There were no planes overhead. There were maybe some sounds of nature, maybe some birds off in the distance, but other than that, there was not a whisper of sound. It
Beautiful.
was
Yeah.
absolutely still. And that is a rare moment in life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
A beautiful moment. Wow.
Mhm.
Absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
picture it in my mind's eye.
Yeah. Of course, the
Mhm.
silence was then broken with our laughter because she said, "No, I don't think so. I don't think we're dead. Not yet." I said, "Well, yeah. Yeah.
Slap me. No, you slap me.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's lovely. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Mark, I'm giving you space here.
You're giving me space. Okay, so you're not
Yes.
just lagging. You're not just
No.
I think this is such a good topic, and it's something that I observe a lot, and in different areas of my life where people want to share, and people are so eager to share as well that they don't take time to hear what somebody is saying. And so it's interesting because I find it so fascinating, but have a hard time talking about it. And it's, like you said, when you first started, it's funny to say that you're talking about silence. And I'm finding I'm silent because I can't say, I don't know what else to say. It's just, it is a big thing that people, it is not all people, but it is more common than not that people will jump in very quickly in the middle of somebody's conversation or so I love the topic, and I just don't, I'm at a loss for words right now on where to take it next.
You just want to sit in silence for
Yes.
a few minutes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's
But
okay.
it is okay. That I think that's actually the main point. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think that you're right. A lot of people want to fill the silence because if you're sitting with a friend, let's just take a hypothetical situation. You're sitting with a friend and he or she, or they are sharing something with you, and they're looking maybe for some advice or some feedback. So immediately our minds start to work. What could I do to help this person? I really want to help them. I love them so much. They're a dear friend. I want to help them. Your mind starts racing, and immediately you want to bring suggestions to them. But wouldn't it be interesting to just allow that person to talk, and then for silence to be there, and for them to trust, they as well, to trust that the silence doesn't mean you have nothing to say, but the silence is simply you thinking about what they've said, taking it all in, and perhaps formulating a response that will be the most helpful, because the quickest answer isn't necessarily the wisest.
Yes.
And where does that wisdom come from? For some people, it does take a bit of time for that to percolate to the top. And one could even say to the person, look, I'm not saying anything right now. It's not because I don't care, or it's because I don't have something that some wisdom to share with you. It's just that I really want to understand what's happening for you. So even asking more questions of them helps to bring out what's going on, and also allows you to reduce any kind of assumptions you might be making about them or the situation or whatever it might be. Just to allow them to open up even more.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a story to share when we come back based on what you're just saying. So we're going to take a short break right here. And so don't go away. We'll be back with more conversation in just a moment. Sit in silence for 2 minutes.
Having Courageous Conversations is proudly sponsored by Unity Kitchener. We are a welcoming spiritual community where open dialogue, personal growth, and authentic connection are encouraged. Join us Sundays at 10:30 a.m. Eastern for inspiration, reflection, and meaningful conversation. Learn more at unitykitchener.org. Unity Kitchener, a positive path for spiritual living.
Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center, Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, come be you.
Well, thanks for staying with us. And let's continue the conversation. So, Pamela, before you were speaking about, how people sometimes misunderstand. I think that's what you were saying, misunderstand silence. And what it said to me, what it brought to my mind is, I will say something to someone, and they're silent. And I'm like, you're ignoring me, like, say something. And they say, well, I'm just thinking about what you just said, and I'm trying to formulate an answer or something like that, right? So it's just interesting as well, how we communicate and make assumptions about things like that. With anything, with silence, with in fact, I'm just thinking about a story that you shared before we came on, which I would love for you to share again, about perception. Do you remember?
Oh, yes. About judgment.
Yes,
because it's true. So the story that I shared before we got on the air was just simply, one of the tenets of mindfulness is non-judgment towards ourselves, our thoughts, our feelings, just to simply be present with who we are and with who others are, and to do our very best, to bring in that element of non-judgment. And the business that I worked at earlier, we actually had a sewage tank outside the office that needed to be emptied twice a year or so. And so the company that would come and do that for us, the gentleman who would, or there was a number of different guys who would drive these trucks, they looked the part. They were big and burly, and the kind of people that you thought, oh, I don't want to mess with him kind of thing. They were always friendly and polite, but just from the outside, they looked a certain way. Now, at that time, I had a little miniature dachshund dog that I would bring to work with me every day. She's since passed away, but she was a delight, little Lisa. And I had her in the office. And after this gentleman who drove up, emptied the tank, I saw him walking up the steps of the office, and he was big. He was definitely over 6 feet tall, big burly guy, big muscles, he shaved head, tattoos on all his arms, and he comes clumping up the steps to the office. He opens the door, and my assumption is going to be, well, this will be a bit of a gruff conversation of me signing the paperwork. And immediately the little Lisa runs up to him, and he went from being this big burly guy to just such a sweet little almost 8-year-old boy. He went, oh my gosh, look at that little dog. She's so cute. And I immediately, everything I thought about him went out the window. And I thought, wow, here I am, judging him on his exterior look, thinking that he's going to be some big, rough, grumpy guy. And in fact, he was like so sweet, and he just loved that little dog. And he was a really nice guy. So I think that this also comes into the aspect of silence, in the sense of, if we notice in our thinking, in our silent thinking, that judgmental thoughts are coming up, this is an opportunity to let them go for a moment and experience and be curious, because that's also an aspect of silence. Why am I afraid of silence? Is this person being silent because they don't want to talk to me? Or are they, as you said, Cheryl, they're formulating an answer? There's different ways that we can bring that sense of non-judgment and curiosity into the whole realm of being silent. Because when you really think about it, silence isn't the absence of something, but instead it's the presence of everything.
Wow.
And when we allow that presence of everything to filter into our day, even in small little increments, we live such richer lives, such, dare I say, happier, more fulfilled lives when we allow that to happen.
Yeah, I love that. Silence is the absence of anything. It's the presence of everything.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does Oprah say? That's a teachable moment, or a...
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's a keeper. We'll make it Canadian. That's a keeper.
That's a keeper. There you go. That's a keeper. Need to type that out because I'll forget it.
For sure.
Yes.
You brought a story to me, for me to mind a number of years ago, and Cheryl knows this story well because I often speak of it. A really dear friend of mine at work was going through a difficult time, and he was sharing his story with me, and I went into fix-it mode. And he stopped me in my tracks, and I was really upset. Like inside, it was like, oh my gosh, because he said, Marg, when I want an answer from you, I will ask. Right now, I just want you to hear me. And so I was so offended, like that I would have caused him any hurt or whatever. But I've taken that lesson with me for years and years and years. And so now when somebody is telling me something, 95% of the time I will ask, do you want input?
Yes.
And probably ad nauseum, because I always get, well, of course, I wouldn't be telling you if I didn't want your input, but but it was a really good lesson that I learned years ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's one of the main things I learned doing my life coaching certification, because a life coach is not someone who should be giving you advice. We're not giving life advice. That's not my job. My job is to help you discover for yourself what
Yes.
your advice is.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
what might be good for me is not necessarily good for you. How I might go about fixing a problem is not how you would go about fixing a problem. So
Yes.
the best way, and even this can be taken on in terms of friendship, because people will come to us and ask advice. What do you think? What should I do? I want to change careers. I don't know. Should I do it? What do you think? The best way to turn that around and help them discover, because truly the only person who's going to make that change is them. It's not going to come from the outside. It's going to come from the inside, is to begin asking questions. Well, why do you want to change careers? And then continue to ask the whys. Well, why that? Why that? Like being like I ran into a 3-year-old child the other day when I was tending my beehive. And it's on a property that we have it where a friend of ours, and she has a lot of grandchildren. And there was this little 3-year-old boy there. And everything I took out of my bee kit, my bee suit, the smoker, the different tools that I use in beekeeping, he was asking me, why do you have that? Why is that? Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? And I realized, man, he's just like a great little life coach, because he's asking me why I'm doing these things,
Yes.
and then I'm explaining to him. So yes, advice is a tricky thing.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Lovely analogy.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and we will, what's also coming to my mind is that we're talking about communication a lot in what we're actually discussing, and silence is a part of communication. And I don't think that we ever realize that.
It is.
Mhm.
Because in silence, we get to experience all the other senses that make up true communication. Communication isn't just words. It is the words we choose to speak. It's the way in which we speak, the tone of our voice, the speed in which we say our words.
Yeah.
I do this exercise often when I'm speaker coaching and people are preparing a presentation. I will get them to say that one sentence many different ways. I'll say it like you're talking to your mother. Say it like you're talking to your boss. Say it like you're talking to a 3-year-old child. Say it like you're shouting it across the street to someone. Say it like you're angry. Say it like you're sad. So all of these different ways, we can't experience those and understand how people are speaking with us unless we ourselves are silent and we really listen. Then there's the whole body language, all the stuff that comes across that in the way that people hold themselves, the way that they talk. Are they looking away? Are they looking at me? There's just so many. And it's the vibe, that if you want to call it that spiritual vibe that people give off. You can't experience that if you're rushing around with your words and you're just trying to put stuff on top of stuff. Blah, 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 blah. You can't experience it.
Yeah. Like parents with 3 or 4 children, little boys and girls. Shame.
Yes.
But yeah, I think as you're talking, the way to me, it's not what gets said, it's how. I always say that it's not what gets said, it's how it gets said. And it doesn't matter how anybody says anything, we can make assumptions because we may not hear what's said the way it was intended to be heard. Right. So
absolutely.
I think it's a good practice, as well, to be curious and say, am I understanding you correctly? Is this what I'm hearing? That kind of thing, because I've done that often with my husband. If I'm going to cut a potato, I'm going to cut it in half and he's going to cut it long ways. right? Same thing. It's how we assume people do things or say things. So yeah, communication is it's a real deep topic.
Yes. Yeah. It is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. But it's good, as you said, it's good to be curious. It's good to recognize our assumptions
yeah.
and to pay attention to that
Hmm.
and see our blind spots, if you want to call them that, where we
Yeah.
just we're making automatic assumptions about other people, about what's being said. And then to be, to go back to Mark, what you were talking about, to set people at ease and to let them know, I'm not being silent because I'm not listening to you. I'm being silent because I want to understand you better, and I truly want to be here for you and be a support for you and help you in any way that I can. And that's really all that people generally are looking for. They want to be heard. People want to be heard.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's
Mhm.
it's just it's also I was going to say it's a spiritual opportunity to grow, right? To experience both sides and to
Mhm.
grow ourselves up.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
You've
And
given
for
me.
ourselves as well, right?
Hmm.
It's an
Absolutely.
opportunity. Silence is an opportunity to experience ourselves.
Yes.
I've often driven in very remote areas, and you'll see a house or a farmstead somewhere. And I often say to myself, those people must really like themselves
Hmm.
because you're on your own. You really do, you are isolated in some way. And in modern society, we don't have an opportunity to do that. Sure, we might go on a silent retreat at some point, or we might, experience a weekend of silence in a workshop kind of situation. But we truly haven't been able to build it into our regular day to day, and it's getting more and more challenging, as you said, with the beeping of the backing up trucks and the planes flying overhead, and there's this noise and that noise, and it is a challenge. And also our attention is constantly being pulled,
Yeah.
constantly. And so in order to build up our ability to focus, our ability to tap into that inner wisdom that I was talking about, the way that I do it is I am intentionally silent. I will choose silence, and then it's like a healing balm for me,
Hmm.
that I love to experience.
Hmm.
Mm.
So, what type of emotions do you think? Uh, what type of courage does it take to be silent? Because it takes courage for some people.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's the courage of trust. It really is trust. Trust that even though it might feel uncomfortable,
Hmm.
trust that whatever you are going to experience in silence is what you need to hear. So
Hmm.
it may be that in your silence, things come up that make you feel uncomfortable. That
Hmm.
issue that you've been pushing down and ignoring will rear its big, ugly head. It's an opportunity to trust that being in that silence and being with whatever it is, and it doesn't always have to be negative, it can be a positive as well. But just to trust that it's going to be okay. And you get to choose when you're silent. You are always in control. So
Right.
you can say, look, I'm going to be quiet for 5 minutes
Yeah.
and just let whatever arises arise. I like to bring an aspect of mindfulness to those opportunities of, if you want to call it meditation or intentional silence, that will allow me not to get too caught up in my thinking. So I'll
Hmm.
always bring myself back to my breath. I'll focus on my breath, my in breath, my out breath. I bring myself back to a place of stillness. And then If I find I'm getting caught up again in whatever that issue might be too much, and I'm doing too much thinking, which silences out the inner wisdom that's trying to bubble to the surface, I'll then go back to my breathing, settle myself, and it allows, as I said, that inner knowing, that intuition, the one that really truly wants to help you live a happy life, help you solve your issues. You have to allow it some space to speak, because it speaks very quietly.
Yeah. So you mentioned coaching speakers for TED. So what role does silence play in helping them stay grounded and authentic?
It's often when people, it's a common response when getting up in front of people and speaking, which takes a certain amount of courage to do, because it's one of the biggest fears in life. Fear of death, fear of speaking in front of people. They're like up there.
I'm not afraid of death, but I don't like speaking in front of people.
There you go. So one of the automatic reactions is people will just speak nonstop. They'll just, they've got a topic that they want to talk about, and they just continue to talk, and they don't take any breaks, and they're expecting the audience to understand what they're talking about, but they never actually stop speaking, and they keep on going and going and going and don't even take a breath. And what I do is I help people to understand that less is more, and pauses and silence moments built into a talk, a presentation, whatever it might be, allow whatever you're saying to truly land with your audience, and gives them an opportunity to really understand what you just said. So, I did it in my talk. I don't know how many TEDx speakers stood on stage for 10 seconds in silence, but I did, and I got the audience to do it with me, to go along in silence for 10 seconds, and that was a risky thing to do, because
10 seconds. You think that's so quick? How can that be risky? But it probably feels like a whole minute or something.
Oh yeah, it does, definitely. And for them too, the audience, and I did it almost right at the beginning of my talk, I'm sure they were thinking, what the heck is going on here? Aren't we supposed to be listening to people talk, and she wants me to be quiet, like when we're all going to be silent? So I could just read all the little thought bubbles in the audience. But yes, silence and pauses are extremely important when communicating, because it does allow people to really absorb better what it is that you're saying. And it's not that you have to speak like a robot and very controlled and everything is the same. That's not it at all. It's just allowing, when you say something, for it to really be an experience to land, to be an experience for the listener.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
When I think it was before the show, we were talking about different roles and leadership roles. And one of the things that I find interesting is, when I'm looking for a volunteer in whatever area, and I will put out whatever I'm looking for, and then I'm silent. And there are some people that, I'm uncomfortable too, but I still stay silent and allow people to come forward saying, I will do this. And sometimes there are people that can't allow other people to step in because they're so uncomfortable with the silence. And I think you said it earlier, for fear that whatever, right? For fear, they're afraid of being silent. What if nobody steps up? What if whatever? So they'll maybe put themselves forward to say, I'll do this, because they're afraid of whatever. It's a challenge to sit in the silence and wait for somebody to speak up.
It's not our normal go-to in today's society. Our worlds are filled with so much noise constantly, and we are getting faster and faster and faster and speedier, and it's not the norm to allow for pauses, but what a lost opportunity in life if we let those times pass by. And sometimes what I do is I recognize from the get-go that that's what will happen, that people will be afraid of the silence. So I almost preamble it with saying, look, I'm going to say this, and then I'm just going to allow it to be quiet and allow people to just respond at their own pace. There's no pressure to say anything. If you don't want to say anything, don't say anything. If you do want to say something, then feel free at your own pace. And it might feel, just, name the elephant in the room.
Yes.
It might feel uncomfortable, because we're not used to silence around here, but let's just give it a try. And then once we begin to do that, and we begin to create a culture of intentional silence, and that silence is accepted, I honestly think it doesn't take long, and then it becomes the norm. And what a wonderful thing that is. But sometimes helping to belie people's fears from the start is helpful, so that they're not tapping around thinking, oh gosh, I should say something,
No. We've got this topic of silence, and we've almost at the end, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much more I could talk about, never mind silence. So in closing, I thought about 3 closing reflections that I might ask you. So if silence had a message for us, what do you imagine it would say?
Trust me.
Beautiful. What is one belief about silence you wish more people would release?
That it's a weakness. I think that sometimes when people are silent, the silent person in the group, people look at that and say, oh, he or she has no opinion. He or she doesn't have the courage to speak up. He or she is not, well-versed in whatever topic is being discussed. And to understand that silence is actually a superpower. It's a very strong character trait,
Wow, that's beautiful. So as we come to the end of this conversation, we invite you to notice the quiet space within you, the place that doesn't rush, doesn't perform, doesn't need to have the next sentence ready. And I'm going to repeat something you said, which I really liked. Silence is not the absence of something. It is the presence of something deeper. So as you move back into the rhythm of your day, may you carry with you the courage to pause, to listen before responding, to breathe before deciding, and to soften before reacting. So Pamela, thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight to have you on the show. Any last thoughts from you, Mark?
I'm going to take what you said, Pamela, about taking the elephant out of the room. Speak to, just say it, this is what's happening, and there will be silence, and it's okay. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. As I think,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, helping people understand that it's okay, and understanding that it's not normal for people nowadays to be quiet, and to just encourage it and say, it's all right. It's okay. You can speak when you want. I think that helps a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it makes people feel safe.
Yes.
I think, right?
Yes.
So once again, thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe, and come again next week. And know that we are on YouTube as well, in a few different places. So if you want to watch this show again, that's a place you can go to. And for those that are watching after the fact, welcome and enjoy the show. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, ladies. Take good care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.